Hey guys, my name is Mozzie, and today we have finally learned all the information about what we can be expecting from Year 4 of Rainbow Six Siege, and I gotta admit that this is big. These are some pretty significant changes. And so first and foremost, we have the two new operator, Mozzie and Gridlock. Gridlock is going to be the new offensive character, and her special ability is that she's essentially able to toss out a gadget that then scatters a bunch of spikes around the room to deter people from roaming. The way it works is that it essentially is a buffed up version of barbed wire. As a defender, if you step into one of these, you're not only going to be slowed, so you're not going to move as quickly, you're going to make a lot of noise, so it's going to be very obvious that you're coming from that angle, but on top of that, you're also going to be taking some damage. I think it's 10 damage per tick, and so if you try to run through this field, it's gonna add up pretty quickly. Now, there will be ways for you to be able to deal with this as a defender. You can simply just take them out with your weapon, kind of shoot at them, that will easily dispose of them. You can use an impact nade to basically destroy all of them at once, but the thing about that, though, is that you're going to make your presence known. All of those actions that I just listed make a lot of noise, and so it's gonna be very obvious that you're trying to get the flank off, which will hopefully give the advantage to the offensive team. And so all in all, I cannot wait to try out Gridlock because I think she's going to bring a lot of utility. You're not going to have someone watch your back the entire time if you're pushing the objective. You can have them focus on what's going on in front of them, giving hopefully your team the advantage, and you just simply have this gadget watch your back. And so just in general, I think this is going to be a really cool addition into Rainbow Six Siege. Now, as for the defensive side of things, we have Mozzie. The way that his gadget works is that he's able to place a gadget on walls or simply just shoot this at enemy drones that is able to then take control over said drones, and then he can use them however they want. So if you see a drone that's just roaming around the map, shoot your gadget at it, or at least in its near vicinity, and then this spider-like gadget will latch onto it, take control over it, and then it becomes yours. You can also kind of use this as a drone trap. If you don't see any drones nearby, you can place this in a door frame, and then when a drone passes on by, the gadget will jump off of the side of the door frame, latch onto the drone, and then once again, it will become yours. Now, there will be ways for you to be able to counter this. If you're driving your drone around and you notice a bright red icon flash on the side of your screen, that means that Mozzie's gadget is nearby, and so you probably want to back out and try to get to where you want to go from a different direction. You can run the risk to pass through that doorway, but it's probably going to give your drone to the defensive team. And so just in general, as long as you play him properly, I think that Mozzie is going to add in some really cool new dynamics into Rainbow Six Siege. Not only is he going to deny information gathering, he's going to be kind of like Mute, where you just outright stop people from gathering information on the objective, but you're now taking that tool away from them, and it's now benefiting your team. You can then use this to find people that are roaming around the map, figure out where offense is coming from. You can just put it in a high traffic location so that you can use it as a normal drone, and then the cherry on top is that now as the offensive team, you need to second guess, is that our drone? Is that theirs? It's going to be much harder for you to be able to figure that out, which is going to slow down your progress as well. And so just overall, I think he's going to really twist things on their head a bit. I don't think he's going to be overpowered, but it's going to add in some really cool new dynamics. Moving on over to the Year 4 roadmap, we now have confirmation that we're going to be getting 3 map reworks, which includes Cafe, Canals, and Theme Park, but we're only going to be getting 1 new map, which is going to be at the start of Season 1, which is the map that you guys are seeing right now. Now, what I like about this is that this new map is going to be much more similar to stuff like Oregon and Clubhouse, for example. I do enjoy Fortress and Villa, but one of my issues with them is that they are very large. They are kind of gigantic, and so they're trying to go more back to their roots and make it not tiny. This isn't going to be something like House, for example, but it is going to be more on the medium size, and so a bit more manageable, not only to learn, but also to deal with roamers. I think what makes me more excited, though, because while this map does look great, we won't really know how it plays until we get our hands on it, but it does look like it's going to be a great new addition. But what I'm more thrilled about is the rework of old maps. The one good example that they give us is Cafe. Now, Cafe is a decent map, but over the years, we've kind of realized that it definitely has its weaknesses and its problems. And so instead of doing a complete rework like Hereford Base, where they change everything from top to bottom, it is still going to feel like Cafe, cafe. It still has a lot of the same themes. The layout is almost identical, but there are going to be some things changed around or some new additions. Probably the best example of this is the top floor. The balcony section is now going to loop around, giving not only offensive more ways to actually get into the top floor, which was one of the biggest issues, but also more places for defenders to hang out and try and flank the offensive team. They've also made some pretty dramatic changes down below in the first floor. They've moved the stair to the side, they've added in some cubbies and some alcoves, and they're also going to be rearranging where the objectives are located. It's no longer going to be in the bakery, which is phenomenal news. If you've ever played this game for an extensive amount of time, you know that the bakery is basically a free win for the offense if they have any idea of what they're doing, and so that is no longer going to be one of the largest glaring issues of Cafe. Now, that isn't the only map that's going to be getting a rework this season, because Theme Park and Canals are also going to be seeing some pretty significant updates. Now, we don't know all the details about these because they're in the early stages of development. They're going to be making a lot of changes over the next couple of months, but what they have shared with us is that in Canals, for example, there's now going to be a lot more ways for you to be able to move from one building over to the other. Not only is there going to be another bridge that we can use, but there's also going to be a tunnel down below that connects the two different sides. And then finally, we have Theme Park. Sadly, they weren't able to give us a whole lot of details, or at least visual examples of what they're going to be doing, but what we do know is that the train part, the one right down in the middle, is going to be getting some changes. Currently, there are too many hiding spots for defenders. It's really hard for offense to get in there and clear it all out because there are so many nooks and crannies. They're going to be cleaning up the spooky or the gargoyle section. Currently, it's only really used to roam around. It feels just kind of like dead space. And then overall, they're going to be improving the lighting. Some sections are too dark, some sections are too light. They're going to try to find a sweet spot so that there's just visual clarity overall. And so just in general, I am incredibly excited about these reworks. I know that some people might be a bit disappointed that we're only getting one new map this year, but I can also fully understand why Ubisoft has made this decision. We already have a lot of maps in Rainbow Six Siege, and many of them aren't very competitive. They have their problem, they have their issues. And so instead of just trying to constantly bring us new maps, this will allow them to refocus their effort on the ones that we already have, improve upon them, and so hopefully the ones that we are able to play on are just a lot more competitive. One thing that I was not expecting with this update though is that the deployable shield is getting a massive upgrade. So for the longest time, this gadget has been fairly mediocre. That is no longer going to be the case. So what they've done is that it's now going to be a lot easier to place this thing around the map. One thing about it before is that it was very clunky. It usually didn't go exactly where you wanted it to, so that will hopefully no longer be a problem. But the biggest change is that it now has little glass slits around the inside that will actually let you peer to the other side and see what's going on. It's essentially Mira's gadget, but for the deployable shield. The viewports are quite small, so you may not be able to pinpoint exactly where they are on the opposite side of the shield, but you will be able to see movements. And so as an offensive player, if you come across one of these shields now, it is going to be a lot scarier trying to push down that long hallway. You don't know if anyone's going to be on the other end, and if they are watching you, they can quickly pop up and take you out. I really do think that this is going to be a game changer. This is going to take the gadget from being mediocre to honestly being one of the better ones that you can have in some maps and on some objectives. I really do think it's going to be quite strong. This is going to completely change the way that we play on some of these objectives, and so I'm really curious to see how all of this plays out. Ubisoft has also given us a look into the rework of Glaz and Lion. What they're going to be doing with Glaz is pretty creative. So right now, when you play as this character, usually you can be very aggressive. You throw down your smoke screen, they can't see you, you can see them, you can push into the objective and take everyone out. It's really powerful. But that's not really what they wanted Glaz to be. They wanted him to hold down long angles and support your team from afar. And so what Ubisoft has done to change him is that if you're standing still, he functions exactly the way that Glaz does now. Everyone lights up when you're aimed down sight, they'll show up yellow, you can see through smoke. It's Glaz that we know today. But as soon as you start to move and move quickly, that's where things change quite dramatically. As soon as you start to move, you'll no longer have access to the Iron V. You won't be able to see through smoke, and players won't show up bright yellow. When you stop, it will refocus. It takes a split second, but then you'll regain the Iron V. And so essentially what they're trying to accomplish is to keep you at a distance. They don't want you being ultra aggressive, they want you holding those long angles, and I gotta admit that this is a really clever solution to that problem. As for Lion, he is going to be more about information gathering and less about keeping people still and taking players out through walls. And so the way that he's going to work is that as soon as he activates his gadget, it's going to give defenders actually less time and notification to stand still. I think it's only like a 2-second window. The thing is, though, is that it's only going to require them to stand still for I think like 2 seconds, so a lot less than it was before. The cherry on top, though, is that if you do move around, it's only going to ping your location kind of like Alibi or Jackal. There's not going to be that bright red outline around your character. What they're trying to accomplish with this change is that this is now going to let you know, oh, there's someone above me or there's someone to my right, but not their exact location. I really think that this is going to make him a lot less frustrating to go against. It's difficult to tell until we actually get our hands on it, but I'm hopeful that this is finally going to put Lion in a much more balanced place. Now, surprisingly, these are not the only major changes that are happening at the start of the season. The fan favorite pick and ban that everyone was enjoying during the 6 invitational playlist, that is now going to be a part of ranked. If you like that new dynamic of being able to actually change the meta, if there's a certain operator that you don't enjoy going against on a particular map, or just in general, you can now ban them from the rotation entirely for that match. That is now going to be in ranked. I know people are going to be thrilled about that. Casual is now moving from a 4-minute timer down to a 3.5-minute timer. You will also be able to select where you want to spawn on the offensive side, which is something that people have been requesting basically since the dawn of time. But on top of that, as defense, you're now going to know where it's going to spawn you, so you can pick the appropriate operator for that location. You won't be able to choose your location, but at least it will let you know so that you have that information available. And then finally, they're going to be adding in a brand new playlist, which is called Newcomer. The way that it works is that it features 3 maps. It's going to have the ranked rule set, I believe, and it's only going to be available for people that are clearance level 50 and below. This is Ubisoft's way at trying to get newer players involved in Rainbow Six Siege and not just kind of throw them into it against people that have been playing since the very beginning. And while I imagine that queue times will be a bit longer because only so many people fit the parameters of 50 and below, I'm really hoping that this is going to be a great tool to get people involved and enjoy Rainbow Six Siege for the very first time. If all that wasn't enough, though, they're going to be adding in a new team killing policy. The way that it works is that if you TK someone, it's going to put you into a different state. So for the rest of the match, the rest of your game, if you now do any damage against teammates, it won't do any damage to them, it will now do that damage to you. So if you rip into one of your teammates, you could actually take yourself out and it won't do anything to them. And while of course this won't eliminate the problem entirely, this is definitely a very interesting step in the right direction. It might have its own problems here and there, it has its issues, but it's really cool to see that Ubisoft is trying to take a firmer stance and trying to find at least some solutions to this problem, which I know can be very frustrating. Probably my favorite reveal, though, from this event, though, is what they're going to be doing to crouch and lean spam. The example that they give is what you guys are seeing right now. Blitz is zipping back and forth, it looks ridiculous, incredibly unnatural, and then they give us the fix. His head hardly moves anywhere whatsoever. And so while this is the first iteration, they plan on making more changes in the future. If this is what we can be expecting, I think it is going to be a huge step in the right direction. Yeah, guys, that is what it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. I am really excited for this new year. It seems like they're trying to tackle a lot of the problems that the community had and resolve them with these next couple of seasons, so I am very excited. Let me know what you guys thought about this reveal, though. Are you looking forward to the updates? Which one are you looking forward to the most? Let me know down below in the comments. Yeah, guys, until tomorrow, have a good one and take it easy.